Today we're going to learn about multiplying polynomials. We're going to start by doing an exponent review and then a review of the distributive property to work our way up to multiplying polynomials. Let's get ready. You're going to need your notes, pencil, and calculator, and try problems along the way. Let's start with our exponent review. So what is x plus x? Well, that's going to be 2x. So my next question comes out as what's x times x? It's not 2x, it's x squared. Okay, so what's x squared times x? Well, x squared is x times x, and then I have another x, so that's going to be x cubed. So then what would x cubed times x squared be? Well, I could write it out each time. X cubed is x times x times x times an x squared, which is an x and an x, and I have 5 x's, so that's x to the 5th, not 5x, but x to the 5th. I have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, so really I can add all those 1's and get 5, or I could just go back to the original and say, well, 3 plus 2 is 5. So the rule is when you're multiplying with the same base, and the base is the number that the exponent is raised to, you are going to add the exponents. Students are usually really good with the distributive property. So remember what the distributive property says. In this case, we're going to distribute the 5 and we're going to multiply it to both. So we're going to get 10x minus 40. Let's try this one. You can notice we have an x squared in here, so we do have to think about our exponents. I'm going to multiply the 6x into both. So I do 6 times 3 and get the 18x times x squared. I add my exponents, so I get x cubed, plus 6x times 4 is 24x. That is in standard form. Notice it's x cubed and then an x. So now let's get it ready to apply both of those so that we can multiply our polynomials. Here, if we remember our vocabulary, we have a binomial times a binomial, 2 terms times 2 terms. So this is really a big distributive property. So I'm going to multiply my first x into the second set of parentheses, and x times x is x squared, x times negative 5 is negative 5x. And then I have to multiply the 3 into both, so I have plus 3x minus 15. It's often going to work out that you can combine your like terms that are in the middle because they both have the same variable group, but not always. So I have x squared, and then a negative 5x plus 3x is negative 2x minus 15. That is my final answer. It is in standard form because my powers go down to 1, 0. This ends up being, if I was asked to classify it, this would be a quadratic trinomial. And if I asked you the leading coefficient, well, there's nothing out in front of the x squared, so my leading coefficient is 1. Here we have 3x minus 1 times 4x plus 6. They're both binomials. I'd like you to pause and try it on your own. And now we're going to do our big distributive. So I'm going to do the 3x times both. So 3x times 4x is 12x squared. 3x times 6 is 18x. I'm going to multiply the negative 1. Make sure it's negative so you get your sign correct. Negative 1 times 4x is minus 4x. Negative 1 times 6 is minus 6. I can combine my middle terms. So I have 12x squared. 18 minus 4 is 14x minus 6. Final answer, it's another quadratic trinomial, and my leading coefficient is 12. What do you notice different about this one? Well, I see that I have 2 terms and I have 3 terms. So this is a binomial times a trinomial, but it's the same exact process. It's just a little bit bigger. I have to multiply the 3x to all 3 terms there. And notice how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to multiply the 3x times x squared and get 3x cubed 3x times 5x is a positive 15x squared. And then 3x times a negative 8 is negative 24x. Now, because I have so many terms and different variable groups, I'm going to stack these underneath, kind of into the column that they'll fall into. So negative 2 times x squared is going to give me negative 2x squared. I'm going to put it under my 15x squared, because then what I'm going to do is add down, and this will help me stay organized, and it will help me combine my like terms. My negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. And negative 2 times negative 16 negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16. So now I have my groupings all together in columns, and I can add down to help me combine like terms. I get 3x cubed plus 13x squared minus 34x plus 16. That's my final answer from the multiplication. This one is a cubic because of this 3, polynomial because I have more than 3 terms, and my leading coefficient is that 3. Here we have another binomial times a trinomial. I'd like you to pause it and then try it. And now we'll do it. So 4x squared times 2x squared is 8x to the 4th. 4x squared times negative x is a negative 4x cubed, and 4x squared times negative 1 is negative 4x squared. I'm going to multiply the 5, and then I'm going to place it underneath. So I'm going to have 5 times 2x squared, which is 10x squared, positive. 5 times negative x is negative 5x, and 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Only the x squareds matched up on that, but it's still going to help me write it in standard form. So I end up with 8x to the 4th minus 4x cubed. Negative 4 plus 10 is positive 6x squared minus 5x minus 5. Final answer for a quartic polynomial with a leading coefficient of 8. Good job. All right, so what do we think about this one? Think about it, be careful, give it a try first on paper. And now I'm going to tell you what not to do. You cannot just do that. That's going to then give me 3x squared whole thing squared is 9x squared plus 4. That is not the right answer, and I will show you why. When we think about what it means to square something, that means you're multiplying it by itself. So that means I should write my parentheses out twice because it's one group times the same group. And now you can see I have a binomial times a binomial, so I'm going to do the distributive property again, just like we were doing. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times 2 is 6x. Then my 2 times 3x is another 6x. 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm going to add down, so I get 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. When you compare it to that, you can see that 9x squared plus 4 was missing the 12x. So just by distributing that square in, which you can't do, you are dropping a term. So don't mix that up. There are two terms. This is a binomial. This is called squaring a binomial. And when you square a binomial, you need to write your parentheses out. If you do this, 9x squared plus 4, I have to be pretty crazy and call us, don't kill a puppy. Don't kill a puppy by doing that. You need to write out the two sets of parentheses like this so that you get a trinomial answer. Have to be dramatic there. Let's try this. We have 2x minus 5 whole thing squared. Remember our cute little puppy over here. And pause it and try. Hopefully you wrote out two sets of parentheses. As soon as you do that, you're most likely going to get the problem correct. So when we multiply that out, I have 2x times 2x, which is 4x squared. 2x times negative 5, which is negative 10x, negative 5 times 2x, which is negative 10x, and negative 5 times negative 5, which is 25. Combine my middle terms, and I get 4x squared minus 20x plus 25 for a trinomial, a quadratic trinomial with a leading coefficient of 4. Good job. And that's what the puppy says too. Good job. So when you're multiplying, remember your rules of exponents, and then it just becomes a big distributive property. Nice work.